You know that moment just before sunrise, when the darkness seems thickest? That's exactly where our story begins today. We're diving into one of the most powerful prophecies in the Bible, Isaiah 9:2, where hope breaks through in the darkest hour.
And what's fascinating is that this wasn't just poetic imagery. The people Isaiah was speaking to were literally living in what felt like their darkest moment.
Can you paint that picture for us? What was actually happening when Isaiah delivered this prophecy?
So we're looking at around 732 BC. The Assyrian Empire was this massive threat looming over Israel. The northern regions, Zebulun and Naphtali, they were the first to fall.
Wait, these were actual places? I always thought this was more metaphorical.
Oh no, these were real territories. And what's really interesting is that these same regions, later known as Galilee, would be where Jesus would begin his ministry centuries later.
That's actually incredible. The same places that experienced the deepest darkness first would see the light first?
Exactly. And you know what's fascinating? The Hebrew word for darkness here, hoshek, isn't just about physical darkness. It represented complete hopelessness.
Like a spiritual and emotional darkness, too?
Precisely. These people were facing foreign invasion, internal divisions, and spiritual confusion. It was darkness on every level.
You know, that actually reminds me of something interesting about dawn. It's always darkest just before the sun rises.
That's such a powerful parallel because Isaiah's prophecy uses this exact imagery of dawn. A light has dawned.
And what's the significance of that specific wording?
Well, dawn is unstoppable, right? You can't prevent the sun from rising. This prophecy was saying that God's light coming into the world was just as certain.
That's beautiful. But let's dig deeper into the historical context. What was actually happening in Israel at this time?
So King Ahaz of Judah was facing this crisis. The Assyrian Empire was expanding, and smaller nations were trying to form alliances to resist them.
Go on.
Instead of trusting God, Ahaz made this disastrous decision to align with Assyria. It's like making a deal with the very darkness that's threatening you.
Oh, wow. That's quite a move.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The Hebrew word for light used here, or, appears in other ancient Near Eastern texts as a symbol of divine presence.
So this wasn't just about physical light or even hope in general. It was specifically about God's presence?
Exactly. And when Matthew's Gospel quotes this passage, it directly connects it to Jesus beginning his ministry in Galilee.
That's such a powerful connection. The prophecy and its fulfillment, separated by centuries but linked so precisely.
And what's remarkable is that no other first-century messianic claimant focused their ministry in Galilee. Jesus uniquely fulfilled this aspect of the prophecy.
You know what strikes me? This pattern of hope emerging from places of greatest despair seems to run throughout the biblical narrative.
Yes, and the Dead Sea Scrolls actually contain this text almost verbatim to what we have today, showing how carefully it was preserved.
That's fascinating. So we can be confident this prophecy wasn't modified to fit later events?
Right. The Great Isaiah Scroll, dated around 125 BC, contains this passage virtually identical to our modern text.
Let's talk about how this prophecy was understood by people at the time. What did it mean to them?
Well, according to early Jewish interpretations, they saw it as a promise of deliverance from exile. The Targum Jonathan actually paraphrases it specifically about exile.
But it became something even bigger than that, didn't it?
Absolutely. By the 1st century, Galilean Jews were living in intense messianic anticipation. They were actively looking for this promised light.
And then Jesus arrives on the scene.
Yes, and he explicitly identifies himself as the light of the world in John's Gospel. He's directly claiming to be the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy.
That must have been incredibly powerful for those first hearers who knew Isaiah's prophecy by heart.
Especially since he began his ministry right there in Galilee, the very region Isaiah mentioned. It was like watching prophecy unfold in real time.
You mentioned earlier about the Hebrew word for darkness. Can we dig into that a bit more?
Sure. The word hoshek isn't just absence of light. It often represented judgment, suffering, and separation from God in Hebrew thought.
So when Isaiah talks about people walking in darkness,
he's describing a complete spiritual and emotional devastation. These people felt utterly cut off from God's presence.
Which makes the promise of light even more significant.
Exactly. And notice it says, they have seen a great light, using the prophetic perfect tense. It's so certain, it's described as already happened.
That's such a powerful way to express certainty about a future event.
And archaeological evidence actually confirms the historical setting. We've found destruction layers in Galilee that match the Assyrian invasion period.
So we can literally dig up proof of the darkness Isaiah was talking about.
Right down to finding the tribute records from King Ahaz to Assyria. The historical context is remarkably well documented.
Let's bring this into today's context. How does this prophecy speak to modern readers?
Well, just like the original audience, we all experience times of darkness, whether personal, social, or spiritual.
And the message is that darkness isn't the end of the story?
Exactly. The prophecy reminds us that light doesn't gradually evolve from darkness, it breaks in from outside, just as God's salvation isn't something we generate but receive.
That's really profound. The light comes from beyond us.
And just like dawn is inevitable, the prophecy presents God's intervention as unstoppable. No darkness, no matter how deep, can prevent the light from dawning.
You know, that reminds me of how different cultures view dawn as a symbol of spiritual awakening.
Yes, but what's unique here is that Isaiah's prophecy isn't just about cyclical renewal, it's about a specific historical intervention of God into human darkness.
And that's what makes it so powerful as a Christmas devotional, right?
Absolutely. It connects the historical reality of Jesus' birth with the universal human experience of hoping for light in darkness.
And that hope isn't just wishful thinking, it's grounded in historical fulfillment.
Right. The fact that the geographical details of the prophecy were fulfilled so precisely gives weight to its deeper spiritual promises.
So what's the takeaway for someone hearing this today?
I think it's that darkness, whether personal or societal, isn't the final word, just as the prophecy was fulfilled in ways its original hearers couldn't imagine.
And just as dawn is inevitable,
the light of God's presence and purpose will break through, just as it did in Galilee 2,000 years ago.
That's a powerful message of hope to begin the Christmas season.